But we want this to be a little more practical. Inshallah, we want all the brothers and sisters, inshallah, to have notes. Maybe some of you are like Imam Bukhari, you just memorize everything. Allahumma barik. But some of you that are weak, like me, it's good to have notes. Inshallah, we'll have recordings as well, so you can go over them. But whether you take it on your phone, your iPad, your tablet, whatever, but it's good. And in the end, what I want all the Tullab ilm, you guys are all here to seek knowledge, inshallah, to do is revise your knowledge. Alhamdulillah, if you're staying here in the masjid, may Allah reward them. They've allowed people to spend the night. After the durus are finished and the QA, sit down with each other and revise. What did you take from the lesson? What did you take from this session? Go back and forth, share the knowledge. And this is the way of the Salaf al-Salihin. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, as the Sahih hadith he mentions, that him and one Ansari, they were like brothers. When they went to Medina, the Muhajirun and the Ansar, they would make a khuwa, a brotherhood. And they wouldn't just sit in the masjid and not work, they would go to earn their rizq. But at the same time, they didn't want to lose any knowledge. So what they would do is Umar Radiyan would spend the day with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam one day. So any ayat that were revealed, any ahadith in the sense of what Rasulullah told him, any fiqh rulings that he learned, he would write it down. Because Umar Radiyan, he could write. And then the next day, the Ansari, he would spend the day with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Umar Radiyan would work. So the day Umar Radiyan was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Ansari would work. Radiallahu anhu. And the day the man from the Ansar radiallahu anhu would be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Umar radiallahu would work. But every day afterward, they would sit down and each would teach the other what they learned. So the Ansari, whatever he learned while Umar radiallahu was working, that day he would teach it to Umar radiallahu. And Umar radiallahu, what he learned while the Ansari was working, he would teach it to the Ansari. So they would both earn a rizq. Like in Islam, we're not a priest class. It's not like, Assalamu alaikum, Riyan, how are you? It's not where you're just gonna sit in the masjid and not do anything. But at the same time, we don't want to lose any of the knowledge. So whatever you learn during the sessions is good. Afterwards, you sit down with each other and you revise. Go over what did you learn, what did you take. And then if you're not clear about something, we're gonna have question answers panels, and inshallah we can answer all the questions whatever we can by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So today, this is the beginning, the introduction, the muqaddama. So I wanted to speak a few things about one, and these are things I want you to walk away with from today. One is the manhaj, the methodology of the Anbiya in giving da'wah. Second is the importance of what da'wah is. And third, the izzah, the honor, and the ghira, the I don't know how to translate ghira, you should have with da'wah. It's not jealousy, that's not the right word for it, So inshallah you'll get the concepts. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He honored this ummah with the responsibility of da'wah. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored this ummah with, that the nations before us didn't really have, because the nations in the past, you would have a Nabi and then you would have another Nabi at the same time, at times, right? Like for example, Musa alayhi salam, he's a Nabi of Allah. And at the same time you have Harun alayhi salam, is also a Nabi of Allah. And what they would have is, if one Nabi would die, tawaturan, in one after the other in succession, you would have Anbiya come. So for example, you look at Musa alayhi salatu salam, but before Musa alayhi salatu salam, you have Yusuf alayhi salam. You know why Ben Israel was in Egypt? It's because of the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Before that, Ben Israel was in Sham. Before Yusuf alayhi salam, who do you have? Who's his father? Yaqub alayhi salam. I'm going to ask you questions because I don't want you guys, I'm tired as it is, man. So if you guys are falling asleep, I'm going to fall asleep. Okay? So before Yaqub alayhi salam, who do you have? Ishaq alayhi salam. And Ismail, obviously his brother also, alayhi salam. Then before them you have Ibrahim alayhi salam. Before them you have Nuh alayhi salam. So now from Adam alayhi salam to Idris alayhi salam and so on, we're going in a succession all the way to Musa alayhi salam. Then you have Dawood alayhi salam. Then you have Sulaiman alayhi salam. Then you have Isa alayhi salam. Until the last of all the prophets is the Aqeedah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that the last of all the prophets is who? Nabiyana Muhammad Rasulullah, Muhammad ibn Abdullah alayhi salatu salam. Last prophet. No Qadianis here. Good. So, when you have the last prophet, this responsibility of connecting the makhlooq to the Khaliq, connecting the creation to the Creator, who will take up this responsibility? Who? The Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is it the responsibility just for ulama? Or is there a particular jama'ah? OMF is going to come up and do the da'wah for everybody? Or Jama'at Tabligh or Jama'at Da'wah? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل هذه سبيلي. He tells the Prophet ﷺ, say, this is my way. As-sabil, this is my path. Ad'u ila Allah. I give da'wah towards Allah. Towards what? Oh, sleep, man. Come on, Toronto, wake up. Canadians are polite, but come on, man, right? What do you give da'wah towards? Do you give it towards a particular jama'ah? Join our group, sign up for our organization, become a card-carrying member? No. What is our da'wah towards? Allah. Ad'u ila Allah. How do you give da'wah? Do you have to go 4 months and 40 days, or do you have to get a degree from Medina? No, ala basira, upon knowledge, upon adillah, upon surety, upon wisdom, right? So we bring da'wah from evidences. This is a very important thing to understand, because today we have many subul, paths, away from the sabil of Nabi alayhi salatu salam, from siratul mustaqim, from the straight path. Some paths, they are du'at, but their da'wah is more towards themselves than it is towards Allah. Even though they won't say that, but they'll be like, you know what, I just came up with this new way. Nothing new that you should come up with, right? I came with a new system of da'wah. It's amazing. Well, I've got a system of da'wah, Quran, Sunnah. How's that? Right? So then they want to come up with a new psychological, chemistry, psychophysics, rocket science, and they want to make it so complicated that you're like, man, it gave me a headache, man. Nobody's going to become Muslim listening to you because they're just going to be looking for aspirin or Tylenol or whatever, right? And they think this is some new amazing way. No. The way of da'wah is very simple. We go back to the way of the Anbiya, the best of mankind, the way of Sahaba, right? So you have this path. Another path that deviates away from the straight path is where they change the definition of da'wah. Nowadays, we have some people that their definition of da'wah is they want to sit on a panel with like a lesbian priestess and a gay rabbi and whatever else. Yeah, I'm getting banned, I know. It's alright. Right? Yeah? Get banned? Alright, good. Faddal Habib.
Sheikh, there is a misconception that some people from Muslims need to be hafiz, some of them need to be scholar, and also for dawah, some of them need to be. So
Khalas, we'll address that here, inshallah. So this incorrect idea is that, okay, you have somebody here who's doing some kind of kufr and this kufr, and of course we can be good neighbors and work together on things that are mutually beneficial, but it's not da'wah that you say, okay, you're good and you're going to Jannah and you're going to Jannah and we're going to Jannah and woohoo, all hold hands. That's not da'wah. It's not the way the Anbiya did it. You know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was in Mecca, he didn't tell the Quraysh, you know what, let's just get together and make a panel, and you know, we'll host you guys at the Haram, and then we'll join you guys in your idol worship, and we'll just have a very, you know, inner, I don't know, coexistent, whatever. No, he had to tell them, this is kufr. What you're doing, worshipping idols, is wrong. Ibrahim alayhi salam didn't go to his father and said, you know, your statues are also good, but you know, just accept me being a Muslim. That's okay. No. Da'wah, you have to address the evils. Lut alayhi salam didn't go to his people and say, you know, whatever you're doing, it's your business, but let's just make a coalition so you can support us in our causes. No. He told them what you're doing is wrong. That is the way of the Anbiya. To stand on the haqq clearly. Now, as I mentioned, that this was the responsibility of the Anbiya, of the best of mankind. And they would take it to the street. Because nowadays some people think da'wah is just to sit at home and make videos. I mean, Allah reward them for what they're doing. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but that's not comprehensive, right? It's very easy to just sit at home in your nice AC or heater in Canada, right? And you're just gonna talk about somebody or something, and then you get all the views, and you're like, yes, you know. But that's not. I mean, that's not the extent of da'wah. That can be one aspect of da'wah. But the Anbiya, they went out in the streets and they spoke to people. I mean, they didn't just say, okay, I'm not gonna give da'wah unless you give me a stage, where, you know, and 10,000 people. I have one da'i I met with, I'm not going to mention names, but very good, sincere brother. He told me, you know what, don't give da'wah anywhere unless they get you 10,000 people in the audience. So no, man, I stand on street corners and talk to, you know, people individually. We don't believe that you need to have that many people or that many of an audience for you to be able to give the da'wah. Working? So the Anbiya, like Nuh alayhi salatu salam, who was from the greatest of the Anbiya. Nuh alayhi salam, he is from the 5 greatest of the Anbiya. As Shaykh Abdul Rahman Nasir al-Sa'di, when he talks about in tafsir the 5 of the greatest of the prophets, he puts Nuh alayhi salam from them. He is called the second father of mankind. And after Adam alayhi salatu salam, when humanity started again after the flood, Nuh alayhi salam and the people that were with him, they became the next beginning of mankind. But that same Nuh alayhi salam, he says, Rabbi inni da'utu qawmi laylan wa nahara. Say, oh my Rabb, I give da'wah to my people day and night. He didn't just sit back and say, I'm a Nabi, let them come to me. No, he went to them. And day and night. For 950 years. Can you imagine? A Nabi giving da'wah to his people openly and secretly. I mean, in every way. For 950 years, only a few followed him. Because it's not the numbers you should worry about. I mean, we're always happy when we have a lot of people become Muslim. But in the end, it's the principles that we have to stick to. So 950 years of da'wah, and this is a Nabi of Allah. If you look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he is the best of mankind. Sayyid ibn Adam. The Sayyid of all the children of Adam alayhi salatu salam. Ashraf al-Makhluq, the most honored of the creation. Rasulullah, Khatam al-Nabiyyin alayhi salatu salam. And he went out in the streets of Mecca and gave da'wah. Now, as I said, some people, they deviate, right? Some people think da'wah is only if we sit down together in the masjid, me and 30 of you guys, and we'll talk a little bit, drink some tea, and go visit the muaddin and the imam, and tell them to come to the masjid, and this is da'wah. I mean, there is islah of the ummah and maybe an aspect of da'wah, but that's not da'wah in its comprehensive form. And then they use the same ayat, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي, and they mention this ayah. Okay, what was the asbab al-nuzul of this ayah? Meaning, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Mecca, and these ayat were revealed, قُمْ فَأَنْذِرْ وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ, right? or kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas, so on. These ayat, who were the people Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being told to give da'wah to? The Muslims or the kuffar? You all asleep, man? Who? Kuffar. It wasn't that, okay, you have Abu Bakr, you have Umar, you have Uthman, you have Ali radiallahu anhum. In Mecca, all of them were Muslim. You have the best of mankind, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have the best place, Mecca. You have the most holy place, the Kaaba. So he could have just sat there and brought the Sahaba and gave them targheeb and gave them a bayan and gave them a talk, and that could be da'wah. But that's not what these ayat were about. These ayat were saying, go to Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab and Abu Sufyan and Walid ibn Mughayra and all these kuffar and call them towards Tawheed. So now this is another offshoot. They say, okay, da'wah, but they're just going to visit Muslims. No. Da'wah, in essence, is to kuffar. Right? Now, of course, if you see a Muslim that's gone astray and you call them back to Islam, great. That's a wonderful thing. But don't say this is all da'wah is about. Right? Don't make a usul that this is all da'wah is going to be. No. Da'wah has to be the way the Anbiya gave da'wah. And da'wah, first and foremost, will be towards Tawheed. And towards the oneness of Allah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is the first thing he called people towards. About the acceptance of his prophethood, about the acceptance of the Quran, and then after that, salah and siyam and zakat, all these things, hijab, they will come after that. This is the way of the Anbiya. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself bared great hardships for da'wah. Yani if you look at going in the streets of Mecca and being attacked by the likes of Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab, and being attacked physically and threatened, and in Ta'if, and how he was harmed, alayhi salatu wasalam, the patience that he showed, the death plots. It's not like it was a walk in the park. You know, you look at these little cartoons nowadays, and it's like, you know, when they talk about the hijrah, it's like as if kids were like playing Ta'al Badru Alayna, and Rasulullah was going, and they were like kids with, you know, ribbons and stuff. No! Mecca, I mean, they were trying to kill the Prophet ﷺ. They had people from each qabila, each tribe around the house of Rasulullah to go and murder him. And Allah protected him that he went from the middle. We have a seerah lesson on the OMF and also on the Majribat channel. You can see the details there, right? And then, on his way to Medina, it wasn't a straight shot. He had to go with going a different direction and being in hiding and being chased by the Quraysh, trying to murder him, alayhi salatu salam, and being in the cave with Abu Bakr radiyanhu. I mean, the very stressful and journey was all again to protect the da'wah. And from Medina, then the da'wah, alhamdulillah, it grew. And then the responsibility of da'wah came upon who? The followers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To answer your question. Yeah? For example, in the time of Musa alayhi salatu salam, when Musa alayhi salatu salam would go, who would be responsible for the ummah? Harun alayhi salam. Now, Harun alayhi salam died before Musa alayhi salam, by the way. But after that Nabi, there would be another Nabi to take on that job. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam being the last Nabi, that job got passed on to this ummah. And that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not say a particular group of the ummah or the qurra or the ulama. But he said the shahid, the one who's here, take this message to the ghaib. You will not find this being mentioned by other anbiya to their ummah, that you go and take it to everybody. Right? But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever hears this, you could be a alim like Abdullah ibn Abbas, or you could be a sahabi we've never even heard of. Your responsibility to take that. And that is what the Quran tells us. قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ. Keep going. أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. Me and whoever makes ittiba', whoever follows me. This is our way. So if somebody says, like there are some qurra, and the qurra, not everybody will be a qari. The Quran doesn't tell us all of have to memorize the whole Quran. Not everybody will be a alim. Not everybody will be Shaykh al-Hadith or a muhaddith, right? There will be few. That's fardul kifaya, no doubt. Just like not everybody is going to be a doctor. Sorry to disappoint Desi parents here, right? Not everybody will be a chemist. No. But from the ummah you will have these things. But every ummati is a da'i. And this responsibility of da'wah, even if we take it to be fardul kifaya, as Shaykh Ibn Baz, he has a risala called Dawah, he says when it is not being fulfilled, no doubt it becomes a fardul ayn. And he said in our time it's not being fulfilled. So everybody has, now, does that mean everybody will carry it out in the same way? No. Even amongst the Sahaba, they took on different functions. Yeah? But we'll discuss that inshallah, about what is your role in da'wah. But the first thing for us is to learn. Right? We quote the famous hadith, the Sahih hadith, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. That's a beautiful hadith. You should memorize it. It's easy. Huh? Here Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is giving us first and foremost a responsibility. بَلِّغُوا هذا تكليف. Urdu wali taklif nahi. Taklif in Arabi, yani it's something that you are given a responsibility upon. So, first thing Rasulullah sallallahu is telling us, bifil amr, with the order, ballighu. Go, convey. Somebody might tell you, who gave you that authority? Which organization? Which group? Which jama'ah? Which markaz? Which amir? No, anni. This is hada tashrif, sharf. Upon the authority of who? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who made you a da'i? Allah and His Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. So here, who gave you that honor of being a da'i? Rasulullah saying on my behalf, go give da'wah. ولو آية هذا تكفيف. بلغوا تكليف. عني تشريف. ولو آية تكفيف. Beautiful. ولو آية, even if it's a single ayah. An ayah doesn't just mean like قل هو الله أحد. An ayah could even be one aspect that you understand of the religion. You know that Allah is one, tell people that. But then don't speak about what you don't know about. Don't get up and like Buzurgs have said that, one time Makhluk came and it did double flips. Where did you get this hadith from, akhi? Mother, elders. No. Speak from what you know. If you don't know, say La adri wallahu a'lam. Yeah? Don't make up stuff. Don't be like a da'i and now you're going to give fatwa. Brother, it's haram. Why is it haram, brother? Brother, you know this is makruh. Where's the kiraha, brother? I don't know. If you don't know, why are you speaking? Right? So, here, everybody will be a da'i, but not in the same way necessarily. There may be an alim, a shaykh, and he teaches the Quran, and he teaches ahadith, and he teaches fiqh, and he teaches aqidah, and that's his da'wah. There may be a sister who's at home in her hijab and in her shyness, but she takes the responsibility that she takes the videos, she takes the content and makes clips and posts them without ever getting in front of a camera or in front of anybody in the park, but that's her da'wah. Yeah. Maybe a sister who supports her husband to go and give da'wah and encourages him and tells him, I'll take care of the house, don't worry, you go do, that's her da'wah. Maybe somebody who has wealth says, you know what, I'm busy with a lot of these things, but I'm going to donate towards people who they can give da'wah, then that's their da'wah. But every ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has to be involved in the da'wah. The methodology of how, go back to the Quran and Sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he utilized every halal way. Notice halal. Because many du'at, I'm trying to warn you about those ways of going astray. May Allah protect us all, right? Many du'at today, they bring a lot of haram aspects into da'wah. Yeah? When we started our da'wah in San Diego with the One Message Foundation, we decided we were going to blur the women that were not wearing proper hijab and things, because we don't want people to watch the videos and get sins from it. So we started, even if a man's aura is exposed, we blur. Like even if somebody's knees are exposed, we blur it. So I was speaking to one brother from the UK. He's a da'i, good brother, mashallah, who was giving me nasiha because their channel was very, very popular. He said, you know what you have to do is when you go to the park that day, find the best looking girl that speaks to you, take a picture and use that as your thumbnail. This is a da'i. I was like, astaghfirullah, brother, wow. He goes, that's the only way it's going to happen. So I'm nah, brother, we good. And if that's what it takes, I'm good, man. We don't need views. And alhamdulillah, we continued, and Allah has given the ability that the da'wah is going really well. Even though we stick to the Quran, Sunnah, that's not a hindrance, that's a factor of success. So, when you're giving da'wah, this is what we stick to, the Quran and Sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam didn't go and get into ilm al-kalam and philosophy and backflips through contingencies and all of that. And we don't get into that either. We talk about the miracle of the Quran as the Quran does. We talk about the miracles of human birth and human existence as the Quran does. We talk about the truthfulness of the Prophet ﷺ and the miracle of the Prophet ﷺ, as we find in Surah Qamar, for example, the splitting of the moon. It's in the Quran. What we find in Sahih Hadith, we talk about, we show the people the errors from their own books, as the Rasul ﷺ did in the Sunan Nabi Dawud, when they brought the Torah and he showed them in it. He pointed to them what they were trying to hide. What they were trying to hide, he showed it to them in their own books. We do the same. So this is our manhaj, this is our methodology, Quran and Sunnah on the way of the Salaf al-Ummah. Salaf al-Ummah didn't just sit around refuting each other, right? This is a new other offshoot, There's no da'wah to kuffar, no stopping bid'ah, just sitting around going, this brother, he didn't attend this, my shaykh, he's off the manhaj. Allah musta'an. And some of those brothers, when you see them, they're really nice. Like, I've met a lot of them, mashallah, shaykh and this, and then, oh, you just made a video against me. That was weird, right? So, that is not our manhaj. Our manhaj is Quran and Sunnah and the way of the Salaf al-Ummah. Yeah? Now, when you look at the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, they took the da'wah with izzah and with ghira. Remember the three things I told you, right? They didn't give da'wah by being humiliated. They were patient, but they were not weak. And there is a difference. Having sabr and being in a state of dhillah. Some of the du'a today, people go and spit on them. And I saw a video, I don't know if you guys saw, somebody went with like a beer can and poured it, and the brothers were like, oh. And everybody was like, oh my God. I was like, you should have knocked the dude out. Take that can, hit him in the head, man. Right? Like, let him know we're not ones to be messed with. And this is not the way of da'wah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was patient, but at times he would grab them. There was even Umar radiyallahu anhu, when he was accepting Islam, Rasulullah grabbed him. Ya Ibn al-Khattab, O son of Khattab, isn't it time you accepted? He grabbed him. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he fought in battles. Don't get it twisted. Yeah, we're a religion of peace, but that doesn't mean that we're not a religion of turning the other cheek. That's not us, especially not me. Right? So the da'wah has to be given with izzah, with sabr, with hikmah. We want good for people. We want to have good manners. We're not cussing people out. We're not hitting people, but we're also not begging people. They need Islam. We don't need them. We don't need anybody. We have Allah, that's enough for us. But people need Islam to find the purpose of their creation, to connect with their Creator. And that's why we are there to convey the message, not to change the message. Today, many of the du'at, to fit in or to get accepted, they start changing the message. Oh, 4 wives, that was only for that time because the Arab, Ah, bro, I don't know where you came up with that one from. You know, in that time there were battles, but now we don't have battles. No, yeah, we sure do, yeah. No, sorry. Rasulullah ﷺ said that the risk of this ummah will be under the swords of shades till the day of judgment, right? Or on the back of horses, another narration, right? So you can't change the religion. Ma alayna illa balagul mubin. It is not upon us except to convey the message clearly. Not to change it. Not to get out there and be like, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. That's our dawah. No. It's shirk. What is this Christmas? Paganism. Birthdays. Nonsense. No, we're not going to accept that. That's not dawah. We're going to tell them the truth. Straight up. Rabi' ibn Amir. Who knows Rabi' ibn Amir? People say, you know him, mashallah, good. People say Rabi', but that's not, his name is not Rabi'. He was a Sahabi that would not have been known had it not been for one incident. Yani, when you read books of tafsir and you see the aqwal of the Sahaba, you'll see like Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, Aisha radiyallahu anha. You see the aqwal of Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anhuma. So many great Sahaba. I don't know, have you ever seen a book of tafsir with a qawl of Rabi' ibn Amir? I haven't, right? Or a book of fiqh that quotes the fiqh opinion of Rabi' ibn Amir? No. So how do we know him? We know him from the battles that happened against the Persians. This amazing Sahabi, as Ibn Hajar and others have, and this incident is mentioned in Bidayah wa Nihaya of Ibn Kathir. Imam Tabari has mentioned in his Tarikh. Now with some variation, you find it in many of the books of Tarikh. Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he was the Khalifa at the time, Amirul Mu'mineen. And he sent a delegation to call the people of Persia to Islam. Now understand, the call wasn't to gain land or to take over their political system. You know, nowadays some organizations, all they care about is politics. They just want to take over at the expense of sacrificing. Many of these organizations, when you see their interviews, they're like, we're not an Islamic party, we just want the government. And it's like, okay, you know. So that's not what Islam's about. The whole point was that shirk and kufr and the dhulm, the oppression that comes with it stops. That was the mission. So for that, if the Sahaba had to fight, they fought. For that, if they didn't have to fight, they didn't. Right? So here, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, radiyallahu anhu, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, to Rida, and he is from the 10 who were given the glad tidings of Jannah. He is made the Amir by Umar ibn Khattab, radiyallahu anhu. And he is sent out to face one of the superpowers of that time. At that time, there were two big powers. There was the Romans and the Persians. And the Muslims took them both on at the same time. And the amazing thing is, the Arab were a useless people before the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm going to offend people here.
We're not offended.
Alright, good. If you look at the Indians, the people of India, they were very good in math. Even before Islam, they actually had really good math skills. You know, the concept of zero is really, something that could be a credit to them. The Romans, the Persians, they had science, they had philosophy, they had Greek thought, they had astronomy, and they had all these. The Arab, the only thing they really had was they were good at poets. They were good poets. You got to give them that, right? Good poetry, still are. But that's it. Didn't have a king, didn't have an army, didn't have an empire. They had little tribes that had their own leadership. Like even Quraysh didn't have a king. Yeah? And they were never able to really challenge the Persians or Romans. The Romans ruled the western side of the Arabian Peninsula under Banu Ghassan, who were Christians. And if you go to Jordan or Syria, you'll see the leftover of the Roman Empire there, right? And the Persians controlled the east. even all the way into Yemen, was controlled by the Persians. And the Persians and Romans would go at it with each other, and they were really good at war. I mean, they had strategy, they had soldiers, they had equipment, they had technology, but the Arab were never a threat to them. Sometimes the Arab would attack little towns, and then the Persian would come and, really kind of slap them around, and that would be it. But Islam brought izzah to the Arab. Islam brought honor to the Arab. This is the first time the skill, the fun of the Arab was La ilaha illallah. When Allah honored them with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is what brought them together. Now when they went to the Persians with the army for the first time, really, Rustam, who was the general and you could say de facto king. Because in any country, in the end, the military has the power. They may not say it, but then they're like, hey, Imran Khan, let's see what you do without the military, And that's what happens. Hey? In many countries, they mask it better than the others, but in the end, the military has a lot of power. So Rustam, he was not the king, but he was stronger than the king. And he was a very skilled warrior. We kind of play him down, but in history, against the Romans, he won battles against others. He was really good. He had good strategies. And they had strong armies. The Romans as well, right? Their strategies are still studied. So when the Sahaba came, Rustam, he said, how did these these desert dweller Bedouins, how did they even get the cojones to come in, and challenge us? So he said, send a representative. Now here, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, radiallahu anhu, is the Amir. He could have gone himself. He was a very honorable man, very well spoken. He could have sent one of the very eloquent Sahaba who were poets, like Hassan ibn Thabit was a great poet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there were others like him. He could have sent somebody like Umar ibn Khattab. Umar ibn Khattab is in Medina, but I'm saying like of him. Yeah? Umar radiallahu anhu was very physically strong, big, he's tall, right? He said when he would ride a camel, it would be as if he's walking and he would be that hanging off. When he would walk amongst the people would think he's riding. He was tall physically. But he didn't. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu sent Rabi'i ibn Amir, a Sahabi that was not well known. I looked up his biography. Ibn Hajar said about him that he was a slave that was freed by Islam. Before Islam, he was a slave. And he was very skinny. He was skinny. And he was very poor. To the point that he didn't have a sheath for his sword. He had the sword just tied. And his clothes were ripped. They were traveling. It wasn't like they just got out of a hotel or something, right? So when he went, Rustam decided that I'm gonna use psychological warfare, right? Like people do today. They invite you to like the White House or something. I don't know, you guys have a red house or something, a maple house, I don't know, right? Parliament. Igloo, that's a good one, right? And when they invite you, then suddenly you have to start getting impressed. So you can't dress the way you want, you can't walk the way you want, you have to act. No, brother, you have to put the pinky. When you drink, put the pinky. Well, I gotta put the pinky up, bro. No, this is the fork for the salad, and this is the fork for this. Bro, they're just forks. Eat, No. This fork is this, and this knife is for this, and this is. You can't put your elbows. Ya Allah. But the Sahaba weren't like this. They were people of Iman. They had izzah, they had honor, they had ghira. So Rabi'i ibn Amir, he's going, and he's putting his spear down, like facing it down. And the Persians had beautiful carpets. Even till today, Persian carpets are famous. So had this beautiful carpet to try to impress him, and he's walking and it's ripping it. He just doesn't care, he's walking. And they lined the sides with soldiers in armor, like big guys, workout guys, fitness, UFC kind of guys, big buff looking guys with lots of armor and weaponry. And Rabi' ibn Amir is laughing. Like, why are you laughing? He says they put armor on dead bodies. Like, what do you mean dead bodies? They're alive. He says, no, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us that the example of the living and the example of the dead is the example of the one who remembers Allah, who doesn't remember Allah. So the example of the one who remembers Allah is like the one who is alive. And the one who doesn't remember Allah is like the one who's dead. So these are just armor on dead bodies. How am I going to be scared of that? Right? And he's walking. When he gets Rustam, there's way was stages, they would have. And he was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to sit on the floor. It's like, why? He says, I'm comfortable. That's the way we do it. And when he was asked, why did you come? Rustam, through a translator, he asked, so what have you come for? He didn't say that I was sent by Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He didn't say I was sent by Umar ibn Khattab. He didn't say I was sent by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that Allah has sent us. Allah sent us. See, he knew that mindset of why we've come. Allah has sent us for what? To get a green card? Or what do you guys have here? Like a red card? Or what's this? Huh? There's not like a card, like a,
It's a grey card. Grey card.
PR. He's like
Permanent resident.
all right, permanent resident, right? He didn't say I came to get PR, public relations. He didn't say I came because they have great maple syrup, or to try to get a job, or get on welfare, or get housing. No. He said Allah sent us. He knew that we don't go places on accident. It's Allah that sends us. And Allah sent us for what? To take mankind out of the worship and the servitude of mankind, of creation, to the worship and servitude to the Creator. Inshallah. A few minutes, we'll end it up, inshallah. So, here he said, we came to take mankind out of the servitude of the makhluk to the servitude of the Khaliq. And he said that we came to take mankind out of the dhulm, the oppression of other religions, into the peace and tranquility of Islam. And to take mankind out of the tightness of this worldly life into the vastness of the akhirah. This was their mindset. And when Rustam asked them, he told him, give us some time, we'll think about it. He told him, okay, you have a day or two, what do you need? Rustam's like, no, we need to go back to our kings and to our letters to our different cities, and we've got a lot of deliberation. He told him, no, you have 3 days. That's it. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us to give not more than 3 days. The imsak bis sunnah. They were that strict on the sunnah. He said, you have 3 days, think it over. Rustam said, if not, then what? He said, then it's the sword and between us and you. Rustam told him, what if you don't live to see such a thing? He told him, no. If that time comes, we will be going to the promise of Allah. Rustam said, and what is the promise of Allah? He said, either victorious or in Al-Jannah. Either victorious or shuhada. Either we're going to be victorious over you or be in Jannah. 2 options. That's it. There is no retreat. There is no surrender. Victory or shahada. This is how the Sahaba thought. Right? They told them, if you become Muslim, we'll go back. We're not trying to rule over you. You become Muslim, you stay here. You rule, give bay'ah, you're good. If not, then you pay the jizya. And we establish the laws of Allah. And if not, then there's the sword. And that's how they thought. Right? So when they took on this responsibility, Allah gave them victories, and Allah gave them honor, and Allah gave them the dominance on 3 continents. But when we cower, and when we sell out, and when we get too busy, and when we become apologetic and compromising and this and that, no, our da'wah has to be uncompromising, unapologetic, unrelentless, Our da'wah has to be upon the kitab and the sunnah and the way of the Salaf al-Ummah. And inshallah, in this conference, we're going to go over different aspects. This is a muqaddamah, this is an introduction. But inshallah, on how to give da'wah to Christians, to Jews, to Hindus, to atheists, how to deal with issues of evolution and all this stuff, we'll go over it inshallah in a training. And we hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that everybody will benefit from it. And we hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah accepts from all of us, and that all of you become du'at, mukhlisan lillah, sincerely for the sake of Allah. Not because you're going to try to make a paycheck out of it, not because you want to be famous. You want to do it for the sake of Allah. And then we hope from Allah, even if one person is guided through you, then nothing of the worldly matters would be better than that. The hadith about the red camels should be understood. That means nothing of worldly value would be worth anything in comparison to even one person becoming Muslim at your hands. Tayyib, inshallah, with that we'll end. We'll have question and answer later, but inshallah there will be